There you go. And we're live. Hello and welcome to a very special edition of Shoot the Defense. It's an El Clasico preview. I'm your host, Stel, and joining me is, well, how shall we say, he's the third member of Sofa Sports Podcast. He's the third of the trifecta. We've had Dan DeLuca, we've had Harry Simeon, now it's Simon Alavi. Alavi, welcome to the show, mate. Great to have you on.
Cheers, mate. Yeah, 3 tears. Yeah, good to be on. I want to be on, so good to be on, mate.
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you on, mate. You said Three Musketeers. Why didn't I think of that?
Which one's an Arsenal fan, a Spurs fan, and a fisherman. So, yeah. Three Musketeers all day.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, mate, listen, tomorrow we see it's the first El Clasico of the season, and Barcelona aim to extend their lead at the top of the table to 9 points, which will make them 14 ahead of Real Madrid. Now, the reigning world champions, or the world club champions, have a clean bill of health thanks to the return of Rafael Varane. And Barcelona still without Ousmane Dembele and Samuel Umtiti. And Vermaelen is actually in contention to start at centre-back, although Mascherano is also an option. I think Paco Alcácer and Deulofeu are actually on the sidelines. So let's talk about the season so far, mate. And Real Madrid got off to a flyer. They hammered Barcelona 5-1 on aggregate in the Super Cup, but that's pretty much as good as it got. They lost against Betis and Girona, and that really put a dent in their title hopes. Do you think there's a chance their desire to win is actually fading?
I don't know. It's hard to say about desire when you're talking about such top players, but the points gap is, like you said, it's 11 points. Now, Madrid do have a game in hand, so you think if they win both their sort of El Clasico games, it potentially narrows it down to, only 2 points. But like you said, it is a must-win game. It is a must-win game for Madrid, 100%. I think if they don't win, then their title chances are over. What's gone wrong at Madrid? I don't know if it's complacency. I don't know if the desire is not there. You see it with certain players in the Premier League. So take Mertesacker, for example. He's won the World Cup. Does he look that bothered at Arsenal? When you've won so much, is your desire still there? And it's difficult for sort of me and you to turn around and say whether the desire is there or not, because we're not in their shoes. But, look at someone like Ronaldo. I mean, as a former Man United fan, like, he doesn't look the player he was for you guys, does he? As a former Man United player and a fan, Man United fan like yourself, he's not the Ronaldo he once was, is he?
To be honest, the past 3 to 4 seasons, he's been phenomenal. But this season, I don't know what it is. I mean, look, every season there's always something with Ronaldo in the summer. He's always linked to United. He's linked here, he's linked there, and he's never happy apparently. But then everything gets all sorted. I mean, last season was the whole tax scandal, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So was it at the beginning of this season? It was the beginning of last season, wasn't it? Or one of the two, anyway. But so there was the whole tax scandal thing, and he was unhappy, and all of a sudden everything's right as rain again. But you mentioned Ronaldo, and it's been a quiet season for him. He's only got 4 league goals to his name, and 2 of them were last week against Sevilla. So why do you think he's actually been quiet on the goal front?
I think with sort of Madrid's injury problems, and I just think teams can sort of afford to pay attention to him, because when he is that main man, and say Benzema's out, teams can pay a bit more attention to him. Look, he's a sort of player that, as he gets older, he's going to become slower. He's going to become less athletic. He's going to lose those qualities that make him what he is. We're not talking about a Teddy Sheringham. As you get older and older, it's not really going to, Letizia, it's not really going to impact your game as much. Take something like, do you remember his header against Roma all those years ago? The way he arrives in the box, he's more of a static 9 now. He doesn't quite have that Gareth Bale pace and explosiveness. He's going to lose that. And the way he plays, he's going to get more and more injured, a bit like Nadal in tennis. You cannot do that week in, week out. I think as well, this didn't happen so much at Man United, but there were stages in his Madrid career where it was him or no one. Players got the ball, they gave it to him. They were in awe of him. You look at your players now, Isco's and Asensio's, they've got agendas of their own. Isco wants to control the game. Asensio wants to be the new man in town, the young kid getting all the goals. They're not waiting to find Ronaldo. They're taking it upon themselves to. We've got a World Cup coming up. this is where players need to show their country managers that they got a right to be in that team. Like you said, he's had the personal tax issues. He's, with the kid as well. There's always something going on with him. I did read earlier today that he's looking to negotiate a contract after the game tomorrow. And I think, when you don't have a contract set, that can be a worry as well. Negotiations in the background, see it all the time at clubs. It's unsettling. Problem is, who replaces him? They tried to replace him allegedly in the summer with Mbappe. Who even at 32, he's winning Ballon d'Ors. So, all right, he's not the player he probably once was last season or even at the time at Man United, but he's still Ronaldo, he's still one of the greatest players to have ever lived the game,
So you think there's two things I can say with this one. I mean, the first one is that he always goes through a phase throughout a season, whether it be a month, 2 months, where he does absolutely nothing. And everyone gets on his back and people say, oh, he's finished, he's this, he's that. And then he goes on this phenomenal goal-scoring run. And again, he's back in the limelight again. He's one of the top 3 players in the world. And it's interesting that you said about his injuries, how they're catching up on him. Don't forget, this guy is prime condition. Mm-hmm. If you look at him in comparison to, say, Rooney, roughly the same age, one of them has been taking care of himself, one of them clearly hasn't. And you can see the difference in mentality, the difference in physique, the difference in health. Now, obviously, as human beings, our bodies are like cars. It's wear and tear, isn't it? He can't be in prime condition every day. Honestly, he can't be training with the same intensity as he did 5-6 years ago. So naturally, these injuries are gonna happen. So does he need to change his fitness regime? Do we know if he has done? I mean, I've seen his Instagram, and he does like using resistance cables a lot. But I don't know. I mean, I can't write him off because he does it week in, week out. Eventually, he's going to come good. And what a time for him to come good. He scored the goal against Gremio, which won him the World Club Championship. And he's coming up against his arch nemesis, Messi. But
with Ronaldo, it's an ego thing, isn't it? So can you imagine someone saying to him, you need to do this different fitness regime, but you're going to lose your 8-pack? Is he going to do it?
I don't know. I think that he's actually more mature than people give him credit for, to be honest. I think he realizes that at this point of his life that, he's not going to go on forever. And to be fair, he's seen it happen with other players. He's seen Rio Ferdinand get older. He's seen Ryan Giggs get older. And it wouldn't surprise me if he's taken these things into consideration, like how they've treated their diets or treated their bodies. Giggs did yoga, and that prolonged his career. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's kind of exploring different training techniques or methods to keep him going a bit longer, because let's be 100% honest, if he can keep himself fit till the end of the season, and if his contract is up, it would not surprise me if he gets a big money move to either Paris Saint-Germain or even the MLS,
But is he the sort of player who can play a different type of game? Now, I'm a big Rooney fan. Now, I'm not putting him in the same, breath as Ronaldo. But you saw I'll try and make it relevant to Man United, someone like Scholes. And you see with Rooney at Everton now, they can play a slightly different type of game. Like can Ronaldo? Can you imagine him in 2 years' time, like playing the creative quarterback role? No, this is what I mean. So you're right. He just has to adapt, because he certainly can't adapt his position. You're not going to see him like playing like Scholes did.
Well, don't forget, he was ultimately a winger, wasn't he? And it's only been the past, I'd say, 2 seasons. He's actually
3 seasons. Yeah.
Last season, I went to the Champions League final, and he was a central striker, and he was fantastic. And I think as players get older, they need to, as you said, they need to adapt their game. I'll bring up Ryan Giggs again. He was ultimately a left winger for United for years, but then as he got older, he moved more central. Ruud Gullit was a central midfielder. Then he became a sweeper. We see that a lot with footballers. David Beckham was a right winger, but as he got older, he moved more centrally. So I think players like Ronaldo, even though they're world class, they still need to learn. They still need to keep on learning. I think Terry Venables said it best. When as you get older, you still need to develop. You're still developing.
Yeah. No, we'll see. I mean, look, it'll be very him to just turn it on. I mean, there's rumours there's an injury, but apparently he's okay. It'll be very him to just go and win the game, won't it, tomorrow?
Exactly. Turn up with a knee strap and still play.
That's it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, look, we mentioned desire at the beginning of the show, and Real Madrid, they didn't make any marquee signings in the summer, which is very unlike Real Madrid, isn't it? I mean, they have, however, given youth a chance, which I'm very surprised about. Last week, we saw the likes of Hakimi, Vallejo, Nacho, Vasquez, and Asensio starting the 5-0 route of Sevilla. Now, do you think this is a sign that Real Madrid are actually, I don't know, saving their pennies for the new Bernabeu, or is it a complete change in mentality and philosophy because Zidane's there?
I think you've got to remember, obviously, Zidane came up through the youth system at Madrid in terms of, he had the B side. And I don't know if you know who the youth coach is now, but it's Guti, remember the former Madrid attacking midfielder?
Guti,
yeah. Like blondie hair, yeah. So are they saving their pennies? These clubs they're never trying to save money, let's be honest. So I don't think it's that. I think Zidane got to a point where he couldn't afford any more injuries to crucial players. And he was actually criticised at the start of the season for not using youth. So I think he got to a position where, like I said, he couldn't afford injuries to crucial players, and he played them in I believe it was a Copa del Rey game, the players you mentioned, as well as Ceballos and Mayero have been getting regular appearances this season. He played them in a Copa del Rey game, and he suddenly turned around and thought, actually, I've got a decent lot of youth here. Now, if my old boys aren't going to pull their finger out and they're getting all this money, I'm going to show them that there's a bunch of players in the youth team ready to take their place, like Fergie's Fedlings, like we've seen before. Oscar's another player to watch out for, by the way, really talented player. And I think it's the biggest compliment the Spanish journalists and others have been giving Zidane so far this season, and there have been many, but the ones they have given him is that he's managed to actually bring in a good blend of youth and keep those experienced players like your Ramoses, etc. So I don't think it's a complete change of philosophy. I think he's needed to do it. We've been through the Madrid injuries. He hasn't had a choice, to be fair, but he's brought them in and they're hungry. And like that desire you said, if some players don't have it, the youth players, they certainly have it because they haven't won the Champions League. They haven't won the La Liga. They've just watched from the stands applauding.
Yeah, so you're kind of expecting them to keep the other players on their toes. I mean, we've seen Sergio Ramos win how many trophies. I don't think he can be dislodged that easy. But again, you've got Varane, who's been in and out with injuries. Perhaps if he's got someone there vying for his place, he might give him a kick up the backside. Same with Carvajal at right back. Same with Marcelo at left back. He's been back for years.
And half these players have won the World Cup. And for me, that is big. I think when you've won the World Cup, I just think you're the type of player where it all changes for you and you've done what you've always wanted to do, or it inspires you. Not every player can be in that second bracket. Desire, momentum, these huge things in football.
Yeah, it's the hunger, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, look, you've got all these youngsters coming through. So what of Gareth Bale then? I know he's been in and out of the side due to thigh and calf injuries. Do you think he's got a future at Real Madrid, or is this last chance saloon for him?
I think it's the change of formation. Zidane has gone from a 4-3-3 to a 4-4-2, and he's got Isco at the helm. Creating everything. Probably my favourite player in Spain. So I'm not going to push for Bale to get in the team ahead of him. Gareth Bale is someone. Again, we talked about Ronaldo. The way he plays, he's going to get injured. You can't run at that pace and play like he does without getting injured a few times a season. Like you mentioned, Giggs. I mean, how many times did he have a hamstring injury? Same sort of thing. Now, Gareth Bale is suited to a 4-3-3. Once you've changed your formation from a 4-3 to a 4-4-2, if you've got the players already, where do you then fit in Gareth Bale into that 4-4-2 at Madrid? He's going to play Modric, Casemiro, Kroos, Isco, Ronaldo and Benzema. Where does Bale fit in? He doesn't now. It's unfortunate because every time Bale comes on, saw it against, I think Gamero came on, I think he came on in the Copa del Rey again. Every time he comes on, he does something. Remember the Champions League final a couple of years ago where he was man of the match. So I do think he's got ability. I think there's always been a shadow over him since he's joined Madrid. I don't think every Madrid fan has taken to him. He's not been, they barely take to Ronaldo half the time. So what sort of chance has Gareth Bale got? And you look at his appearances, for example, Gareth Bale, 49 first season, 31 the next season, 27 the next season, just slowly dropping. And, you add that to the fact that there's Isco coming in and offers you a whole different way of playing. I can see them cashing out on Gareth Bale. Now, he's got options. He can easily come back to the Premier League. He can go to MLS, like you said. He's got options. But I could see them cashing out on him because the way the game is out there, you cannot play him and Isco and all these attacking players. Someone's got to give. And at the moment, it's Gareth Bale.
Yeah. I think he was brought in to be the heir to Ronaldo's throne because they saw how well he was doing in the Premier League, and it mirrored kind of what Ronaldo was doing, in a sense, with the free kicks, with the blistering pace, with, single-handedly beating teams like he was doing for Spurs. But as you said, he had a really good first season. They won the Champions League. He scored in the final. But then afterwards, it's just gone downhill for the guy. And I think we know with Real Madrid, they've got a history of playing players just to accommodate others. So, for example, when Kaká joined them, they signed Ronaldo straight after. They're playing Kaká wide left, and they're playing Ronaldo and Raúl, and it was just a mess. But now they've got a team, and Zidane has got a system, that 4-4-2 with, as you said, with Isco at the point at the top and Casemiro protecting the back four. You've got the full-backs bombing forward. You've got Ronaldo as a central striker with Benzema. And let's be honest, you're not going to dislodge Benzema because Benzema gets you goals. You're not going to dislodge Ronaldo. I mean, they sold Morata, because he couldn't get in the team. So, no one is untouchable at the club. They really aren't. And especially with Zidane and Florentino Perez there, I think you're right. I think we might see the end of Gareth Bale at Real Madrid.
I think, and all the players you mentioned, they all bring something that the other necessarily doesn't.
Mm.
What's Bale bringing that Ronaldo isn't already bringing?
Yeah. I think the thing is now, Alavi, the problem that Real Madrid have is that they're too predictable. You know what system they're going to play. As I said, in the Champions League final against Juventus, they were phenomenal. That was probably the best final performance I've seen since France dismantled Brazil in the World Cup final. Even when Spain battered Italy. But at club level, was probably the best demolition. Maybe it was since Milan beat Barcelona in the Champions League final back in '94, I'd say.
4-0, whatever it was.
Yeah, so it was a similar kind of performance, similar one-sided performance. But I don't know, winning that Champions League, they didn't strengthen in the summer, and he's gone with the youth to probably try a different system and different way of playing. And I just think they've become a little bit too predictable, mate, to be fair.
I think with youth, this isn't England or Italy, or you get even less time. So if he's banking on a couple of seasons to let youth go through, sell Morata, sell a couple of top players, and let the youth come through, these Spanish presidents don't give you that time. It's a very different philosophy out there. We've seen managers win the league, win the Champions League, and get fired. So sitting where they are in the table, okay, they're still second favourites of the bookies. You could still get ridiculous odds like 20-25 to 1 for Atletico Madrid, and Valencia like 100 to 1, and so the bookies aren't normally wrong. They're still the second best team in La Liga, but Zidane's not going to get 2 years for those youth players who you could pronounce a lot better than me. He's not going to get 2 years for those players to do the business. He's going to get 2 months. If they lose tomorrow, that could be it.
Yeah, I think he gets this season because he's done so well, winning X amount of Champions Leagues in how many years. But I think next season, if they start off the same way as they did this, I think he's gone. To be fair,
he's going to be a victim of his own success, isn't he? Like, he almost shouldn't have done that well last season and just sort of like won the La Liga just to keep him sweet. But he's going to be a victim. He's set such high standards now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
interesting.
His son's not a bad player, apparently.
So. No, he's not. But he's injured. He's not playing.
Yeah.
Right, let's talk about Barcelona then. Well, they started the season slow, but picked up the pace despite a very bumpy ride at the beginning. I know Barca legend Xavi told Catalunya Radio, "We've returned to the essence of Barca. Valverde's arrival has revitalized Barcelona's DNA." What do you make of that? Do you agree?
See, we've always grown up, and we're roughly not going into detail, but we're roughly sort of the same age. We've always grown up with Barcelona being the attacking, the powerful attacking side. You know, you score three, it doesn't matter. We'll score four. Now, I don't think that they look anything like their normal DNA. They're very defensive, not defensive, but there's certainly an emphasis on defence like I've never seen before. You know, out goes the makeshift defender Mascherano, and in comes a solid French defender like Umtiti, and you know, I think it was something like 0.27, 0.28 goals per game they've conceded. You know, that defensively, that's brilliant. So I don't know if there's been like a misinterpretation or whether Xavi just means it was Xavi, wasn't it? Whether Xavi just means we've gone back to our winning ways and being the number one, because that's certainly true. But DNA in terms of playing football, okay, they're going to play great football because they've got players like Messi and Suarez, but they certainly aren't battering teams like they used to. They certainly aren't defensively as not average, but certainly for the trophies they won, they were never brilliant defensively. You know, they had a couple of standout defenders, but they were never brilliant defensively. I think a lot of it's maybe that of a keeper as well. I mean, he looks like one of the best keepers in the world now. His distribution's brilliant, great shot stopper, not as good as Mr. De Gea, of course, but great keeper. So not quite sure about the DNA. Assuming he just means winning. But there's certainly been a change of the season, and Valverde's done well because there were rumours that people like Messi and other top players had come out criticising him originally for his defensive minded approach. But he's certainly getting the plaudits now, and they're well on their way to win La Liga. I think there's something like 5-1 on, so it's as good as over there.
Yeah, I don't think they've had a defensively astute coach for a very long time. Rijkaard wasn't. Guardiola wasn't. You know, Tito Villanova, was it? It was Villanova, wasn't it? Was it Villanova?
Yeah, the guy who died, yeah.
That's right. Tata Martino wasn't. Luis Enrique was. I mean, with Luis Enrique, they called a team meeting in November. And I think he just backed down and let the players get on with it, and then they won the treble. So, yeah, you know, Valverde's come in. He's got a extensive knowledge of the game. You know, he's very defensive at Bilbao, very defensive in Greece. And, you know, they're not pretty to watch like recent years, but they're much more organised defensively, and especially from set pieces. They're not conceding from set pieces, which is one of their main weaknesses in the past.
Yeah, I think, and tomorrow we're probably going to see the Marlin in. Now, was he brilliant at Arsenal? No, but Valverde's got something about him that he's able to coach. Now, I don't even believe he was I think he was an attacking midfielder himself. I don't think he was a defender, unless I've completely got that wrong. But he's got something about him. I don't know, his emphasis on defence, and he's just seen this very simply as, why are we looking to score 4 and concede 3 when we could just tighten up and not concede any? All right, it's easier said than done. But he's gone out. I really like Umtiti. It's a shame he's injured tomorrow because he's a great, great defender. And again, apparently what you said about Luis Enrique is really interesting, because rumours, again, like you hear on Twitter, but apparently, you know, Messi's gone in and stuck up for his Argentinian teammate Mascherano and said, you know, I want him in the side, I want him in defence. And the managers, when he comes up from his injury, and the managers stood strong and said no. So, you know, okay, that you want these players to stand up. There's, like, you know, again, relate it back to yourself and your team, there's no one bigger than the manager. And I think that's what we're seeing at Barcelona. And I think that's transpiring into the defensive displays as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Mascherano could be heading to China in January, from what I've heard.
This is his last game, apparently, if he does play tomorrow.
Well, there you go. There you go. But what I like about Barcelona is that, look, we know that you've got to have the ball to win the game, right? And they rarely give the ball away. And I think he's gone in with this mentality where it's like, well, we're getting goals anyway. Suarez are going to get goals. You know, Paulinho is going to get goals, and we'll go into him in just a minute. Messi's going to get you goals. Alcácer is going to get you goals. So they've got goals all over the pitch. Even the left back, Jordi Alba gets goals. So he's probably thinking, well, you know, we can win the league by scoring hundreds of goals, but we can still keep clean sheets. And they've got the personnel to do it. I just think they're doing things in a less headless chicken kind of way these days.
Yeah. And I think he's brought, people like Roberto, he can play a variety of positions, he's providing cover. He's not just necessarily going out and buying as many attacking-minded players as he possibly can. Paulinho is an interesting one if you want to discuss him, because I never saw that coming at all. If it's the same guy that played in the Premiership.
Exactly. I'll tell you what, before we go into Paulinho, let's just say, this is actually a must-win game for Madrid. We know this. So because of that, how do you think Barcelona are going to approach the game?
I wrote down the team somewhere that I thought was, I think I wrote down who's going to play. That's my only bit of notes. Ter Stegen, where is it? Roberto, Piqué, Vermaelen, Alba, Rakitic, Busquets, Paulinho, Iniesta, Messi, Suarez, and I think they just have to keep the ball. And it sounds stupid, but this isn't the Real Madrid side that used to be able to blow opponents away with 25%, 35%, 30% possession. So, from a midfield perspective, you know how Madrid are going to play. They're going to play narrow, and I think that really opens it up tomorrow for Barcelona for the Marcelo and Roberto and Carvajal and Alba. All the fullbacks that you expect to be playing in this game. Couple from each side. I really expect them to be involved in the game, and that's how I think Barcelona will win it. I think that they'll try and keep the ball as much as possible. And I think they'll use Alba and they'll use Roberto, and if they can get the better of Marcelo and Carvajal, I expect them to probably get an away win at the Bernabeu, even though they're not the bookies' favourites. But I expect them to cause another upset like they did this time last season, or win it 3-2. I think they ended up winning last season at the Bernabeu. So that's how I expect them to play. I think Madrid will just play the diamond with Isco. I can't see Zidane changing things now. It's too risky. Obviously, he's put a lot of thought into this because he rested Busquets last game against Deportivo, knowing he was on a yellow. So one more game could be a suspension. So I think he's done the right thing there, and Busquets going to be there holding and give the usual free rein to Suarez and Messi. So I think that's how Barca will approach it, and I sort of want them to win. I know it's this thing, because you want the title race to be open, but I want them to win for absolutely no apparent reason.
No reason whatsoever. Okay.
No.
Fair enough. Okay, well, look, Barcelona missed out on their number one target, Coutinho, in the summer, but moved to sign Dortmund starman Ousmane Dembele. Now, injuries kept the Frenchman out of the side, although it's the performances of another acquisition who we mentioned earlier, and a shotgun at that, Paulinho. He's stolen the headlines. What do you make of his season so far? He scored 6 goals, which makes him the highest midfield goal scorer in La Liga.
This just completely passed me by. I don't understand how this was the same player, because he was at Spurs and then he went to China, I believe.
That's right.
I think it must just be a confidence thing. It must just be the manager giving him, believing in the player. He's spoken quite badly at times about his time at Spurs. So I don't know if it was a confidence thing, but he needs to play tomorrow. I think he's clearly a strong character. Everyone was laughing. I don't know if you remember, but they showed him doing the kick-ups when he joined, and he sort of did 3 kick-ups and lost the ball or something. So he was that sort of laughing stock when he when he first joined. I think he knows his place. He knows he doesn't have the skill of a Lionel Messi or the goals of a Suarez, but he knows his place in the side. He's given very clear instructions what to do. He fits in there 4-3-3 really well. And credit to him, he's turning it around. And again, it's like what we spoke about earlier, whether it's mentality, momentum, form, desire, all these things are just so crucial. And Paulinho is a testament to all of that.
I think what impresses me most about Paulinho is that he's actually really powerful. And he's the kind of
Yeah.
midfielder that they need. They've got Busquets there that can tidy up, but he isn't as physical as he really should be for a defensive midfielder. But I think with Paulinho there, he's kind of like in between like a Rakitic and the Busquets in the sense that he could win the ball because of the upper body strength. He's quick and he can deliver it. So it moves the game and it makes it. It's kind of like a really good outlet to have.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that when you have that three all perfectly, like your destroyer, your ball player, and the guy who could do a little bit of both, but not quite as good as the other two at their sort of specialties, it just works perfectly. I think it's what City have over every other team in the Premier League as well, you know, and that mix of sort of like Silva and Fernandinho and De Bruyne, same thing. So, yeah, like, it's funny what you say about Busquets because I think if he played in another league, I don't think he would be at. I think he's good because of where he is more than anything. And maybe the same for Paulinho. He just benefits from their system. He benefits from having sort of a young manager who's shown faith in him. Imagine you're in his position and you're given that responsibility, and you look around and you think, I'm being picked ahead of all these players. That's a confidence boost in itself.
Absolutely,
you know.
Yeah.
So, no, credit to him. Like, good to see Daniel Levy making another mistake. So. Yeah.
Well, at the end of the day, he went to China. He went with Scolari. He did pretty well out there.
He did very well.
Exactly. I mean, I was one of the people that laughed when Barcelona signed him. I was thinking, what are they doing with him? But you see, there you go. This is why I'm hosting a football show, not actually coaching or anything. You know,
I genuinely assumed it was someone else.
Must be the smog in China is giving him that, isn't it? Well, look, let's go into our predictions before we wrap up the show, mate. How do you think this one will go? I know you said that you want Barcelona.
Yeah. It's hard when it's your head over your heart, but I think if you said, put your mortgage on something, I think you could get 3-1 for the draw. I know I'm famous for going for a draw, but I think I'll go 1-1 with a late goal in the game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be interesting because obviously Real Madrid have still got Atletico to play at home. So have Barca. But the only difference is Barca have Valencia at home to play, whilst Madrid have got to go away to Valencia. So it just proves again, and obviously I'm mentioning those two teams because they're the other sort of two teams in it at the moment. It just means it's just a must-win game for Madrid. It really is, the fact that they've got to go to the Baladeras stadium, it's just a must-win game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know what? See, I've got a thing for Real Madrid, but I think Barcelona are going to beat them. And I think it's going to be a comfortable win. The scoreline won't look comfortable. It might be like a 2-1 or maybe even a 3-2, but I think it'll be comfortable for Barcelona because Real Madrid don't like playing against teams that are physical and solid at the back. We saw with Spurs that Spurs got it so right against Real Madrid, both games, to be fair. And I think Barcelona have I would say a similar system as Spurs, but I think they've got the similar kind of discipline that Spurs had at the time. I think the fullbacks can really give them problems. Look, Marcelo's fantastic. But I think the Barcelona fullback that's come in, I think he's had a fantastic season. Jordi Alba against Carvajal will be an interesting game.
Yeah. I think it'll be down to the fullbacks. I think that could win.
Yeah, absolutely. And Messi, of course, they got him. He's got a point to prove. I mean, I said it last week on our show that it wouldn't surprise me if Messi basically guides Barcelona to La Liga, to the Champions League, and Argentina to the World Cup, and then just leaves. It goes back to Newell's old boys. Because I think losing out on that Ballon d'Or has kind of lit a fuse up his backside.
I think he said he wants to end his club playing career there anyway, doesn't he?
Yeah,
at his old side. So yeah,
or played there or something like that. Because
yeah.
So yeah,
but I think people think that, and I was one of the worst sort of people to say, and I do believe it to an extent that you can only drop so many points in La Liga when the big two barely drop any points. But then Barcelona went and drew 2-2 against Celta Vigo, a few weeks ago. So that was at the Baladio Stadium actually. So that's Madrid have still got to go there. So it's little things like that. You think, well, it just all points to Madrid not having a choice but to win the game, and they've got to win it well. This isn't again very different to other leagues. You got to win things well. I don't think Zidane will get a huge amount of credit if they played awfully and somehow snuck a 1-0 win. Like the fans there want to see you dominate. And they're probably a bit embarrassed after this season, Madrid and their fans. I don't think they're going to settle for anything but a home win. And after 20 minutes, if they haven't scored, that the crowd at the Bernabeu aren't going to be pleased. They start booing after. Don't know if you've been, but they start booing after 15, 20 minutes. So they better score and score early.
There's massive pressure on Real Madrid to win this game, and I think that's another reason why they won't, because of the pressure. I mean, but put it this way: if Real Madrid win, they will be 8 points behind Barcelona, right?
Yeah, they win their game in hand, so that's 5. They have got a game in hand that people haven't sort of clocked onto.
That's right, but then they still have to go to the Camp Nou and beat Barcelona.
All right, so that's 2.
That's 2 points. But then exactly. So can you see Barcelona losing a game after Real Madrid?
And don't forget, in Spain, it's done unless we've changed it this season, but it's done. Yeah, exactly. So
it will take a shot. I mean, let's be honest. It's not impossible. It's not within the realms of possibility that Barcelona won't lose a game. But let's be 100% honest. The way that they're playing now, you can't see anyone past Barcelona winning La Liga. Obviously, the Champions League is resuming in February, so that could be a game changer for everyone there.
Yeah, they've got Chelsea, haven't they?
Yeah. They've got Chelsea, yeah.
And Madrid have got Paris Saint-Germain, I think.
There you go. Yeah. 2 big games. Yeah, it'll be interesting. But yeah, it'll be a cracking game. I'm going to go with 2-1 Barca.
Yeah, a bit of an early kickoff for the Asian market, apparently.
Why is it? Tell our listeners.
Harry from Sofa Sports News there, he just said to me, you said to me, you're going to watch Everton or Madrid? And I was thinking, what's he on about? Like, why is he asking me to choose between two games or none? But so I read that it's to do with the Asian market. So obviously the biggest game in the world financially, and because of a time difference, we've seen it before, but they've chosen the Asian market in terms of the most lucrative sort of TV deals and everything else. There's a couple of other weird things, like they're giving it to all American sports subscribers of a particular channel, free to air. So it just shows that, money talks. We've seen it before, haven't we, on sort of various TV channels where the game, you get to tune in 15 minutes late, or they replay it, but they replay it at 5 p.m. because they're not allowed to show 3 p.m. kickoffs. Money talks still, but I'll certainly be choosing it over. I think it's Everton Chelsea. I think it's Everton Chelsea. So yeah, I'll certainly be choosing it over that.
Fantastic. Well, Avi, it's been great having you on, mate. Before I let you go, do you want to tell our listeners your Twitter handle and what you do on Sofa Sports News? Tell us more about Sofa Sports News, as if we didn't already know.
Sofa Sports News was influenced by Stel at Shelver Defence. No, we just copied Shoot with Defence. And it's a podcast that it's run by Harry Simi, predominantly runs it, and myself and Dan DeLuca are the other 2 sort of core members. We started a couple of years ago now. Very similar show to yours, and obviously appreciate all the help that you've given us over the time. So it's quite rare to find someone who's in the same industry and they actually just happy to help, not just like, put a knife in your back. So do appreciate it.
I've been there, mate.
Appreciate that.
Right. So you got a good product as well. I keep saying this.
Yeah.
Harry, it's something that you guys enjoy doing, and keep going, because the interviews that you guys have had recently in the past few months has been fantastic, and you guys are putting in the effort, and you'll reap the benefits eventually.
Well, it started over an argument. Me and Harry were arguing so much one day that he said we should make a pod out of this, and then That's what happened. But my Twitter
Always
handle
does.
is
Always.
yeah, still arguing about it. Well, I'll give him a break now. He's probably had a heart attack at the Emirates after today. So yeah. So mine's at Alavi_SSN, and if you want to follow our pod, it's at Sofa Sports News Pod
Or
something
something.
like that. So yeah.
Great stuff.
At Sofa Sports News Pod. Something
Fantastic.
like
Harry will love getting that right.
that. Yeah. Probably my phone's going off now.
Superb. Right, guys, if you're still listening, you can follow us on Twitter at Shoot the Defense. We have a Facebook group page. Feel free to join, because every week when we do our review shows, we do our bite back feature, and we get a lot of people contributing, Alavi especially. So until next time, take care.
Cheers.